We're here at the FinTech North 2018 event in Manchester at the Whitworth Art Gallery, and I'm here with serial entrepreneur and leading light of the northern fintech scene, Dan Rajkumar. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Hutch. Good to be here.
It's not the first time we've met, has to be said. How's your day going, Dan?
Good, actually, yeah. It is wonderful to have the conference in a completely different venue. Wonderful space, isn't it? They've done a really good job of making us, kind of accommodating us, helping us fit in, and being in a gallery makes it different to being in a data center. It's been fun. It's
a different thing, isn't it? Really different thing. How's it comparing for you with Leeds?
Good, actually. Yeah. So I really wanted us to bring it to other cities, and with after 3 years of building profile and success and connections in Leeds, we've done a decent job of establishing a fintech scene and several different players in it that are participating and on the track to really build the momentum of what's happening in fintech. So to do that across other northern powerhouse cities is a real privilege, really exciting, and expands the connections and the contacts that we're able to make in each city. Yeah.
How does the involvement of the university kind of colour things for you?
So the university have a fantastic role to play in fintech. They're introducing a master's program. They have a number of papers that they've been researching and publishing. So bridging, the way we see it, the participants of the fintech ecosystem extends beyond those commercially aligned, which is what you get at a lot of the conferences. Quite often we found it there can be a bit of a barrier to invite academics to present and showcase what they've been researching and doing. FinTech North was always created on principles about being accessible and distributed in different regions, different areas. So this has one of the great benefits in being able to attract startups that maybe can't afford the high fees that you get at these other conferences in London or in Copenhagen and Amsterdam, but in major cities where it's really expensive to put on such a conference. Bringing it out to the regions, to the cities, it means that there are fewer commercial organizations, but the opportunity to combine them with the universities, with academics, with the public sector and what's happening in local regions is just a great opportunity to get everybody together, excited, talking about similar themes and topics and sharing ideas.
Yeah. And obviously this is one of 3 this year, isn't it? We've got Leeds, we've done Leeds, we're doing Manchester, Liverpool's coming next.
Yeah.
What's kind of next for FinTech North? Where are we going from here?
Well, there's plenty of cities to go at. So we have been invited to exhibit in Sheffield and in York. Right. With each event that we put on, stakeholders from other regions come to our events, they see what we've done, want us to do the same for them in their city, showcasing what their region has to offer and kind of pitching the strengths and the benefits of each of the different cities, to the merits, to understand, to think of the North as like one super city with lots of different regions, each of the cities having its own strengths and features and functionality and different commercial interests that have got unique propositions. So we're super excited. We haven't announced dates just yet for other venues or cities. It's in the pipeline. We want to do it, in addition to that, we've been running monthly breakfast events in Leeds, which has been really impactful, beneficial. From that, we're going to break out into special interest areas and have little focus groups talk about HR-oriented matters and try and come up with a graduate training program that involves internships at various different fintechs back to back. So graduates would get an experience of what it would be like to do a 6-week placement in one company, then switch over into another company. And if we can also combine that with doing a similar thing throughout the regions and different cities, that could be really interesting. It could be really appealing to help frame fintech as a sector and FinTech North as a brand for graduates who are leaving, who like the finance sector or like the would otherwise look at maybe KPMG or Accenture or one of the big consulting firms to actually understand what's happening in each of the cities in special areas of fintech and see what each city has to offer as well. Actually go to different cities, different companies, get a flavour of what's going on. And then with a view at the end of that, deciding where they wanted to apply to specifically for a role, and that can be bi-directional. The companies can have had a good number of interns that have passed through their offices, gotten familiar with their systems, their staff, their team, and take a view on the best candidates that they'd like to hire, and the interns get a flavour of what it's like to be in different companies. So that's an example of how we've come together to talk about, right, as a HR area, how can we collaborate, how can we... another area of collaboration that is really exciting to discuss is we are, and this is very much in its infancy, but open banking is a massive area that's going to be beneficial to a lot of the financial fintech companies, right? So everyone's getting their access to the APIs and access to the data for the first time, or looking at ways to interrogate it, query it, and produce reports, produce outputs that create some value for some method, some process somewhere in their business model. Now, what we believe we can do is by collaborating together in different areas of research and development, we can work on different libraries of functionality to share with each other, right? So instead of having like 5 fintech firms all looking at how to crunch bank statement transaction data for creditworthiness of businesses, for example, that can be the focus and the concentration area of one company who is willing to share it with another company that's doing research and development and creating a library functionality around assessing maybe patterns of spending, patterns of expenditure, or another company that's looking at the income and the loyalty and the frequency, recency, and the monetary value of the different customers that's looking at to identify the most valuable customers that a business has. So there's lots. Open banking creates so many opportunities that it's without intercommunication of the fintech firms, it's easy for them to reinvent what somebody else is doing. You know, if they're not having the conversation about who's doing what, when, then it's harder to cross-share these resources in a collaborative way. And the ethos of FinTech North is, well, look, for as long as we're in non-competing space, you know, I'm doing commercial credit, you might be doing consumer credit, you know, we're not after the same market, but actually we have an interest in crunching bank statement transaction data in a way that helps inform our algorithms about whether or not to take a decision to lend. But it's applied very differently in the commercial lending space to the consumer space. So having another CTO to brainstorm with, to share when you discover something with, just accelerates that development process and reduces the costs of the same process.
Sounds amazing. On a different tack, you're very plugged into the kind of northern business scene at large. You've been on the ground at FinTech North since the very beginning and a big part of kind of setting it up and developing it. What kind of changes have you seen the work that's being done here kind of being, you know, what impacts have you seen out in the wider world, in the business world? Can you think of any kind of positive stories that have kind of spun off from this? You know?
Absolutely. Well, we've employed Georgina off the back of her coming to one of the breakfast events. It was great to have the event be inviting to people from the wider finance sector, take an interest in fintech, to learn about it, understand it, when it might otherwise have been a daunting prospect for somebody to get into that space. You know, these events are welcoming and embracing for people who just want to learn, just want to understand, well, okay, I've heard about this cryptocurrency thing, but I don't really understand what distributed ledger is or blockchain technology, so I come to one of the presentations and find out more. And in the course of doing that, they meet somebody who takes an interest in what they do, and the network just kind of builds, and you get this cross-pollination of different areas of expertise, be it in tech, in like interface design, or in finance that is very heavily oriented around generating the best returns for ISA investments, whatever it might be. And fintech is the antithesis of the coming together of these domains of knowledge to solve problems and deliver value, competitive advantage. And if in the process of connecting these kind of opportunities that happens, then these events are successful. So it's great to have them on a conference space in different regions outside of London, but it's also really helpful to have the breakfast seminar events, which we're hoping to roll out into other cities. It'll be we've already been asked to start doing them in Manchester, and it's where they get a bit more intimate and a bit more frequent. The community develops. We invite people who might otherwise not think that they have a role or something to say in the specific fintech space, but what they can do is talk about how what they do might apply to fintech, and that's what we're interested in. It's very much about what does fintech mean to you? How do you see, and what problems do you have in terms of the apps that you're using in finance? Because it's quite a nice field. It's quite a nice industry because it breaches into like consumer interests. Everybody gets tech. Everybody has a mobile phone, uses the apps, wants more efficient ways of executing transactions. And people are fed up with the traditional ways that banks have been serving them. So everyone's got a similar journey of having a better experience to what we've been used to having had in the past.
That all sounds like excellent news. I just wonder whether after 3.5 years or so of running these events, have there been any kind of surprising developments to you? Have there been any spin-offs from it that you didn't see coming?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm learning about new companies all the time. The startups that I'm hearing about that I never knew even existed is fantastic to see what innovations are kind of up and coming. That for me always gets me excited to see somebody else take a particular sector and focus and build something from the ground up. Very, very dear to my heart to kind of see these entrepreneurs get passionate about their particular sector, be it in cybersecurity, be it in property lending, be it in equity investing. I've also really found it quite heartwarming how welcoming people have been to supporting the vision and the ethos and the idea. When Julian and I started this, we had no idea of the extent to which people had the need and want to network and meet other like-minded people at these such events and conferences that were not without having to pay several £100s for the privilege of travelling to London or abroad to be able to do so. And so that's been exciting. Big surprise wise, I think that each event kind of size wise is presents new challenges. And I'm somewhat surprised at how smoothly things seem to run. I'm sure that behind the scenes there's lots going on, and I'm always kind of picking up on little details of things where we can improve and deliver a better event next time. But yeah, I think generally speaking, I've been surprised overall by the success of the whole thing.
Well, that sounds like a great note on which to finish. Dan, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you, Hutch.
Enjoy the rest of your day.